Hey YouTube, it's another perfect day in God's country, and I ain't lying. Thank you to each and every one of you for taking yet another moment out of your day to hang out with me, Lucky Haskins. I've been having fun the last few days making these videos, and there is some more horseshit I want to spew this morning. Regards, I always feel so bad for calling so many people mental midgets. So I kind of woke up this morning, had a few cups of coffee, was pondering that, kind of going, man, Lucky, is it cool to just sit around and call these people mental midgets and dumb and all that? And so after pondering that for a while, I decided, of course it is. Who's going to do it? If we don't start flat out pointing out ignorance, deception, the psychosis that the masses are walking around in, if we don't start speaking clearly. This is why, like I've said, pretty much since I started this channel, I don't get involved in these long drawn out debates about belief systems, the one world religion, the heliocentric theoretical model, blah, 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 blah. This is not a religious channel. This is a science channel and a truth channel where we remove idiocracy and psychosis from our discussions and we talk about the truth and reality. Now, a longtime friend of this channel said something in the comments under one of my recent videos about that there's no good flat earth channels anymore since the quote unquote final experiment, which, if you don't know what that is, it was a huge propaganda campaign ran a couple of seasons ago to help make sure the blinded masses stay blind. And most of the real folk were just appalled at the absurdity and the evil and the disgusting behavior of these people that we got to witness and blah, blah, blah. But I want to make a quick comment of why does there seem like there's not a lot of flat earth channels right now? Because they were all COINTEL, my brother. I mean, isn't that obvious to everybody at this point? Hello? Of course. And that was the premise of my channel when I started this channel 4 years ago, or however long it's been, was watch out for the flat earth psyop. The movement is clearly owned and controlled, and people are being led around like sheep. And I warned everybody, stay away from theoretical models and claiming them as reality. It's perfectly fine to discuss theoretical science and theoretical ideas. Don't push them as reality, folks. That's dangerous. Keep both boots on the ground. If it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. If it's not demonstrable, move along. Okay? If it's not demonstrable and independent of the observer, it is a belief. Period. It is not science. What I want to talk about a little bit today, since I've been trying to explain to people what a mental midget is and that it's self-imposed, okay, I want to say something very clearly here. The huge mistake, I've said this time and time again, the theoretical science has been used as a social engineering tool across the sciences, all of them. People have been trained, and it took only a couple of generations. People were given hypothetical, theoretical, fabricated ideas that were invented to push a narrative and socially engineer you. You were told they were theories, you were told they were fabricated, but it was implied to you that you should believe them. You eventually started believing them. This is the sheep as a whole, the masses as a whole, really all of us. Eventually, humanity started to live these theories as if they were real, allowing those self-appointed parasitical powers that be to manipulate society exactly as they see fit. Now, theoretical science is lots of fun. That's all it is fun. It's made up, fairy tale, fabricated ideas to try to explain a hypothesis that you like. So theoretical science is typically biased, reverse engineered science. They want to say, okay, I have this wild hypothetical idea. I'm going to now reverse engineer math. I'm going to put a bunch of what ifs, and see if my theory can't be made to work on paper. In no way, shape, or form does that make it reality. In fact, it's simply reverse engineering math to fit a narrative or a desired outcome, a desired conclusion. That's what theoretical science is. That's why people were put on a mission to try to work on the globe Earth model. People like Einstein making things up like, well, people don't understand that what he's saying is, well, for this model to still even be considered, space and time must be warped because our measurements here on Earth are showing that this model can no longer be even considered. It clearly disagrees with experiment. So since it's just a hypothetical and theoretical model, you can just make something up to fix the model. Yeah, well, if space and time is warped and the length and time dilation is occurring, then we can still hold on to this horseshit hypothesis. That's all it is, folks. It's not something you live on, okay? So I want to point this out. Theoretical science is tons of fun, okay? We get to make movies like Star Trek and all this. It's all based on horseshit theoretical science. Science fiction is what that's called. Theoretical science, by definition, is science fiction, okay? That's all it is. But here's the deal. Theoretical science doesn't deserve the first chair. For anybody who has their intellectual faculties intact enough to understand what I mean by first chair, like if you're building a band and you're going to have, a big concert and you have 4 flute players, the first chair would be your best flute player, right? Well, theoretical science never should be the first chair in science, nor should humanity accept that or allow that. But they did. They were indoctrinated to overvalue theoretical science and, in fact, eventually allow and perceive theoretical science as if it were reality, which it never was, never will be. Okay, never will be your reality. You're never going to have a globe Earth proven to you ever, okay, because it doesn't exist. How do we know it doesn't exist, Lucky? Because it disagrees with experiment. Period. That's science. Demonstrable science. So humanity's been fed so much of this theoretical horsepucky that they now give it equal weight. In fact, they put it in the first chair and say, well, wait a minute. We no longer care about demonstrable science, which clearly spells out the truth and reality, because demonstrable science wholeheartedly disagrees with all of our theoretical science. So now we're giving our theoretical science the first chair and giving that equal validity because you can't prove that our fabricated ideas that are not testable, demonstrable, they don't exist. There's nothing you can touch, feel, like warped space-time. There's no way to test it, prove it, right? So they say, well, warped space-time is real because you can't prove it's not, okay? And they give that first chair. So when you present demonstrable science that always proves the truth, this is how, like I said, the upper 20% in this realm of humans that still have their critical thinking and abilities intact know that we don't live on a globe. We know that demonstrable science proves unequivocally that we live on a flat and motionless plane. Unequivocally, it's not disputable unless you have some demonstrable science, which you don't. You have a religious belief. This is why I talk about these people being mental midgets. They need to be told. They need to be taught the difference between a theory and demonstrable science. period. Then they get tricked by demonstrable science by falling for the what else could it be and thinking that's science, right? Like Foucault's pendulum, or there's a 15 degree an hour drift. What else could it be? They get fooled so easy. That's not demonstrable science, folks. If the conclusions are debatable, that's not demonstrable science. Okay? Demonstrable, independent of the observer, with conclusive results that are the same no matter who does the experiment. It's very simple. So I really laughed hard when my friend, I think it was Shawnee B, man, shout out, brother. Thank you for the comment. Love your work too, man. I always see your shorts. Love it. Keep up the good fight, my brother. When he pointed out that there's no good flat earth, I guarantee you there's lots of people, because people are waking up in droves to the flat earth, to the truth. Basically, all across the sciences, people are waking up to the fact that theoretical science has been nothing more than social engineering propaganda. People are realizing that everything they've been told and they thought is the reality is a falsity. We've been lied and manipulated for 5-6 generations by the same group of people. We all know it now. For some reason, a huge part of the populace just doesn't want the truth. Okay? So mental midgets, a great example. He mentioned the final experiment. And where did a lot of the people go that used to linger around? Well, the hatred and the evil and the wickedness and the lies and the deception and the pure, obvious truth that most of these channels are COINTEL, which many of us knew for years and years and years and years and years. They just put a bad taste in people's mouth. And we don't want to be mean to people, but we're dealing with mental midgets. So, yeah, it sort of just became a very distasteful environment as the COINTEL was exposed, and just absolute dirtbags were manipulating the masses and trying to do so in large quantity. It's really disgusting to watch, folks. We need cleansing from that kind of behavior. The world is a very sick and disgusting place nowadays, by design, unfortunately. But, you know, you need breaks from that, and I take a lot of breaks from that. But there's still plenty of flat earthers, my man. The COINTEL channels aren't needed anymore, at least in their mind. Guarantee you there's still plenty of COINTEL channels out there. The only way to win a battle is to run the opposition. They know that. I've said it a million times. These people don't win anything with cannons and gunfire and explosions. It's information, folks. So mental midgetry, the final experiment, you can't find a bigger example of mental midgets. These people got on an airplane, proved we live on a flat and motionless plane on the way to Antarctica, proved unequivocally using pure demonstrable science. We all know, every pilot knows, every engineer knows, every air traffic controller knows, everybody that has their critical thinking intact knows that that plane ascended, flew flat and level over a flat and level plane, and descended, all using real science, disregarding the globe earth theory. Why? It conclusively proved to everybody on the plane that we live on a flat and motionless plane 100,000 million %. It's proven to them on the way to the final experiment with real science. This is how this society created these mental midgets. These clowns get off the plane and want to go right back to their fictitious fairy tale world where they live in a false reality on a spinning, wobbling rock flying through the infinite universe on a ball. Okay? When they just proved it using real science, okay? It cracks me up the amount of people that believe in the globe that go, oh, you're a science denier and you're on your computer. Yeah, interestingly enough, the computer can only function using demonstrable science. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that freaking amazing? Real science is how the computer works in your phone and your refrigerator in your car. Real science, like the airplane. They're forced to use real science, folks, or a whole lot of people would die. I've said this 100 million times. Nobody will ever travel using a theory that disagrees with experiment. I know a lot of people like to talk and break down, like the level heads and guys like Austin love trying to educate the mental midgets about their theoretical science, but there's no need for it. I like to simplify it for you guys and just speak pure truth. Nobody will ever travel successfully using a theory that disagrees with experiment. You cannot travel anywhere ever and ever using the theory that the earth is a globe, okay? You will crash, you will die, you will go missing, whatever. You certainly can't get in an airplane and leave the ground and use the globe earth theory. You have to scrap the globe earth theory and all of the hypothetical and theoretical nonsense surrounding it. You have to pretend that space and time is not warped for a minute. You have to pretend that the earth is not traveling at 66.6 thousand miles an hour around the god Helios for a minute. You have to pretend that the earth is not spinning for a minute, and you have to pretend the earth is not a globe for a minute, so that you can successfully fly a group of people from point A to point B by launching off a flat and level ground, ascending, flying flat and level, and descending upon more flat and motionless ground. There is no other way to fly a plane other than using demonstrable science. And yet, these mental midgets and these buffoons involved with the final experiment, not all of them were buffoons, most of them complete and total buffoons, get off the plane that just flew using proof, using demonstrable science. They just successfully proved the earth is flat and motionless by using that truth to transport themselves from point A to point B in the sky. Then they get off the plane right back to fantasy land. Yeah, but gravity and the globe and we're spinning and la 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 la. And what credence do they have to support that? Their blind belief. Zero science. So this is why I use the word mental midgets. They don't comprehend the discussion. There is no discussion, folks, about your wackadoodle beliefs versus reality. That's how far gone the human race is. This applies across the sciences. These mental midgets complete and totally lost their comprehension skills and critical thinking abilities years ago, and some of them we know are highly paid COINTEL. We know this now. If you didn't know it before and you didn't want to listen to Lucky before, I'm certain you know it now. Okay? What controlled opposition is. I mean, you can't spell it out any clearer than that, folks. But these freaking mental midgets get off of the transportation mechanism that was designed using real science. The engineers are forced to use reality, demonstrable science, to make that plane fly over the flat and motionless earth. It is 100% conclusive proof that we are living on a flat and motionless topographical plane. Yet they get off the plane and turn right back into mental midgets and start making claims that their spectacular belief system is somehow trumping reality once again. And they make a million assumptions based upon their wild, spectacular beliefs, and try to use those assumptions stacked upon one another to create and try to portray their wackadoodle belief system as if it somehow fits reality. Folks, you have to put your foot down. We've had enough. Theoretical science never ever deserved the first chair in science, should never be the first chair in science. That's how humanity was deceived. Period. and the band played on.